Hey, I'm here with my good friend Larry McCray. Larry, it's good to see you, man.
Hey, how you doing now, brother? It's good to be here, Al.
I'm good. Congratulations on Heartbreak City, your second really strong album in what two years, I think, or about.
It's something within definitely within a 3 year period. It overlaps
Yeah,
how the overlaps go sometime, but it's the second project with Joe Bonamassa and Josh Smith on KTBA level, the Keeping
yeah.
the Blues Alive label.
You had been you hadn't put out a record, a new one, for about 8 years before you hooked up with Josh and Joe. How did they find you, or you find them to begin with?
Well, it wasn't really a fine. I wasn't lost. I was at home, you know what I'm saying, and reason being because it was just after the pandemic. And my career have been up and down, Alan, after I had a very good decade in the 90s, and when the 2000s came along, things just kind of changed, and seemed like when the style changed, it went to a different style of blues than what I was exactly playing like that. And it seemed like my music just kind of got swept under the carpet with a lot of other things that changed. So, after having a lot of years of minimal success and just really struggling to be out there on the road, I had decided that maybe I had enough. I was old enough, and a lot of health issues and stuff going on, and I just was tired, man. I mean, 40 years on the road is a long time for anybody.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you've had this resuscitation of your career because you're such a great player and singer, Larry. And I understand 40 years on the road is enough, too much, and I
Yeah, I
understand
mean,
why you would be tired and want to do that. But the world needs you, and there's not that many guys left who have a real connection to the guys. Like what you're talking about the 90s when you were out there playing and I was going to all these shows and writing about it. I mean, I have to admit I took some of it for granted. I see BB King twice a year. I go
yeah.
see Albert King, Albert Collins all the time. Luther Allison, some of the guys that we thought of as second tier, I mean, and I say that with a great respect, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't necessarily hold Luther Allison in the same regard I held some of these other guys, and that was a mistake because he deserved to be. And
Yes.
I value so much that I did get to see all those guys, but now that so many of them are gone, um, we need you, Larry. We
Well,
really need
the thing I totally agree with what you had to say about the musical scene at the time, and it's classic. You don't miss your water till your well gone dry. We didn't realize that we were in the pinnacle of music and an era that would soon be changing. We just thought that it would be like that forever. I thought BB and all them guys, in my mind, they were like part of my family, because and this is long before I ever thought of calling myself a so-called musician. I'm talking about growing up as a kid, trying to learn to play. I just felt like so connected to them. I just felt like I knew them. I don't know if you ever felt that way, but they were part of the household um routine, if you will, or whatever. I mean, my people come up. We were a very poor family, but one thing we always had plenty of and plenty of accessibility to, and that was good music. And I'm so thankful to my parents for that they had such a value in music because I understand now how that music helped them cope with their life and their problems, and they taught me how to get the same gratification from it. And
yeah,
so even though, things been tough and all that, music itself have always been a thing what carried me through when I get to my lowest point that where I can't feel no more and I need to let it out. I play me some slow Albert King, real thought about blues. I pick his songs that make me feel the blues so I can get it out of my system.
yeah,
And I have my own little system about that, about everything. When I want to feel happy, I know who to go to. When I
yeah,
want to, feel mean, when I want to get charged up, I get me some Freddie King. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Freddie gonna make me stiffen up. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the music has been to me.
yeah. You mentioned Albert King, and I still remember, you were one of the first artists signed to Point Blank Records. And I wrote a review of your record, and it was Albert Collins and you, and I think was it John Hammond also came
Yes.
out with those first batch of records, and I wrote a big review of them in Guitar World. And first I'd ever heard of Larry McCray, and I remember thinking, where'd this guy come from? How did he get in there with these guys? And
Right.
to me, I remember, I think I said it in that review. I mean, it sounded a lot like Albert King influenced. Was he one of, was like, if you had to pick one guy, would you say Albert, or could you not pick one guy?
Well, I've never been able, people ask me, well, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite record? I've never been able to answer that question truthfully because I have the way my grading system works is that you have levels or tiers. And when you get to top shelf, it don't get no better than that. So, you choose who you put on your top shelf. I like him just as well as I like this guy, as this
Yeah,
guy, as this one. But this is my best. This is the best of the best. And then you graduated on down and graduated on down from that. So, with that being said, I've never been able to pick just one. How can I say that I love BB any more than I love Albert or Freddie? And them
right.
was always my four picks, you know what I'm saying? And then, everything
Wait,
graduated
wait,
down from
who's the
that.
fourth? Albert BB, Freddie King, is it also Albert Collins?
You doggone right.
Yeah,
And in my generation, if you were going to be electric blues player, that was your Bible.
right,
You learn you some BB King to where that you can damn near sound like BB. You go to Freddie, you learn his chops.
right.
You go to Albert Collins, you do that, and you do the same thing with Albert King, and then you got a basis to start from. You got the male bay number one of the blues right there. When you study
Yeah.
them, that's chapter one.
You could argue about it forever, but as a starting point, that those four would be a pretty good Mount Rushmore of electric blues.
That's my term, and
Yeah,
that we were talking earlier about Luther and stuff like that. Why that we didn't really maybe appreciate them guys as much as we should have at the time because Mount Rushmore was still living. That's why
right,
Mount Rushmore was still here. Everything was being compared to that.
right.
So it's the same thing. It goes on. In generations. I have always been compared to Luther and above, well, he's no Luther Allison. Well, you can't be. It was only one Luther. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? But he was that important. Luther was that important, and I think he was definitely that important for my graduating class because Luther electrified the blues to a new level. BB and them guys, they took it from the Delta, and they did. Then you had your '50s post-war
right.
blues. BB advanced it from post-war blues to the '60s. Luther took it out of the '60s and '70s. They took it on through the '90s. Now, '90s come, it was time for my generation to step in. The Sherman Robertsons, the Robert Crays, the Kenny Neals, um,
Joe Louis
uh,
Walker.
Little Jimmy King.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Little Jimmy was part of that generation. So each graduating class has this, contributing sources, and
Yeah.
I'm just hopeful and thankful if I'm considered to be one of those.
Oh, you definitely are. Let's talk about the Mount Rushmore one by one and what you think
Hmm.
makes look, I'll tell the name. You tell me a little bit what you got from them or what you think is their s- signature or highlight. So let's talk with
Okay,
BB King, the king
BB
of
King, the
kings.
king of the blues. BB is the king because he's the anointed heir of T-Bone Walker, which is really the first guy I think that electrified black blues to the level that he did. T-Bone,
Yeah,
T-Bone passed it to BB. BB was the king because BB took the style, the elegance, the class, and the grace that T-Bone gave it, and BB took that to a whole different level. BB King, outside of his music, was known as being the gentleman of the blues. BB was elegant. BB was not hoeing cotton. BB drove a tractor. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? BB elevated the class of the blues, and even when in his presentation when he spoke, BB didn't speak with common language. BB let you know, it used to be important to Black people, and I can say this because I was raised during this generation. It was important for us to speak well and to represent and to show that we can rise to a certain level of conversation because people graded you on your conversation. If
Hmm.
you were broken speech and couldn't speak well and couldn't communicate, then it was less opportunity for you, during those times. So BB, Nat King Cole, Ray Charles, like that, those are the ones who first, gave Black people a voice in music. Far as I know, as far back as I can go in my lifetime, you know what I mean? But BB was the king because I feel that he gave the blues class, elegance, and a sense of pride. People, BB King gave blues elegance and pride that had never been experienced before.
Okay, Albert.
Albert King,
Yeah, Albert
to
King.
me, was the bluest of blue. Albert King's guitar, wheat, moan, cried, meowed, did whatever he wanted to do in a very, very rustic, creative, modern technique. Albert was not polished in licks like rockers and playing scales and stuff like that. Everything that Albert King played was original. Albert King didn't copy nobody. He made he had his own thing. And so, like I said, as far as what it did for me, when I'm really sad and really feeling the blues, Albert King is what soothes my soul. So he's the bluest of blue. Albert was a great vocalist, and he also had a very good sense of how to blend his music with R&B, with the Memphis Barcades and that sound, that he come out with the 70s. Albert was a bad man, and he put the pedal to the metal. That's he was the blues. Albert was the blues.
Right. Did you know Albert King at all?
Very well.
Yeah.
Very well.
Did you have a good
Not for a
relationship?
long time. I
Yeah.
didn't know Albert for a long time, but in the last years, the last 5 or 6 years that Albert lived, I was fat boy. I was his little fat boy every time. Hey, fat boy, how you doing? Let me see your little guitar, or whatever like that. Say, oh, Albert, it ain't nothing but the story that I was told. John Wooler was the president of Point Blank Records.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't know that I was the first artist that was signed to Point Blank Music, and I was the launching pad for Point Blank Music because it was blues to today and beyond, from
Right.
blues now into the 2000. That was my thing. You know what I'm saying? The blues where it's at now, taking it into the future. So Albert King heard some of my demos, and as Wooler tell it, he said, "Who was that?" And so he found out about who I was. I had a showcase show in Detroit, Michigan. I played at the Majestic Theater. I played with Joanna Connor, Ronnie Earl, and James Cotton. And Albert got word of it, and him and John Wooler both showed up in Detroit and came, and that's how I met Albert King. He
Wow.
come to one of my gigs, and I got a chance to meet him and shake his hand. And man, it was one of the most monumental things in my career, beside meeting Aretha Franklin.
Yeah. And and
Mm.
and for Albert King to go out of his way to come to your show is really saying something.
It
He's
said
not
a
a
lot
guy who went
because
and hung out in clubs, you know.
Albert didn't take nothing from nobody, and he didn't pretend with for or to anybody. And I know, well, I mean, I was raised a respectful kid anyway, the old Southern way, we, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and I still do that today, just because, not trying to be funny, but I mean, I say yes, sir, to everybody,
Yeah.
just because, I want to show my respect. In order to get respect, you got to give a little bit. But he knew that I was raised right, and he knew that I was a respectful kid, and I think that he appreciated my guitar playing, but he never would let me know he liked it. He would criticize and talk about me bad and cut me down and let me know, But I think, that was his way from them old people like that. That was them way of making you try your best. Because ain't nobody you hate to have frown on you worse than your own mom, your own pa, or somebody that you respect the most. He said, "Stop doing all that skipping. Play me something from the gut. I don't hear nothing. I don't hear nothing from down in. Let
Yeah.
me hear what you got." That's how he would bark at me what he
Right.
would say. Some of the things he would say. I don't hear nothing hidden from the gut. Play me something from the gut, meaning play me something from you. Don't just play me some notes. Play me something that means something or feel like something.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
with someone like Albert, the fact that he comments on your playing at all means he likes it. He respects you enough to give you a piece of his brain or heart or whatever, you know.
Right, right. Because
Okay,
he could
so
be very cold. I seen him one time. A man came with a stack of albums. It must have been at least 8 or 10 albums. And Albert was just sitting on a park bench. We was at a festival, and he was just sitting there filing his nails, waiting, talking with me. And the man come with them albums, and before the guy could even get there, Albert was shaking his head. He said, "Nope, nope, nope." And so the man said, "Mr. King," he said, "I'm a huge fan." He said, "Got all your albums. I was just wondering, could I get you to sign?" Albert found. He said, "Nope." He said, "I'm off today. Come back tomorrow." That's, that's what he told me. It crushed me, man. You know what I'm saying? But that's just kind of how he was. He didn't, if he didn't know you or like you, he didn't waste his time.
right. Okay,
Yeah.
Freddie King.
Freddie King to me was the fullback of the blues. He was the epitome of power, speed, and accuracy. And the power of his vocals and the range of his vocals, I don't know anybody yet that could match up to Freddie with that. I mean, he was a big, powerful guy, but he could really had a high range of powerful falsetto and natural that could go, places that most vocalists couldn't go. And that's another thing that I think that helped to make him who he was, his vocal and his guitar. But
Yeah.
raw power, nothing but pure rock and power, Freddie King.
Okay, so your fourth choice is Albert Collins. And
Albert
I,
Collins.
I love Albert. A lot of people, this is the three kings. I don't think nobody's going to argue about that fourth spot. Some people might say Otis Rush. Some people might say Buddy Guy. I mean, there's a lot of, but Albert Collins obviously is right in there. So, but what is it about Albert in particular, the Iceman that
Because Albert guitar says it all. Out of all them guys you talking about, and I love, by the way, I love Otis Rush, I love Buddy, I love Luther, and all of them. But the reason that I picked Albert Collins is because of his style. Albert was another one of those guys that never played a note that nobody else played. You don't hear Albert is Albert. He's totally signature. Everything about him, his style, the way he played, his chops are all Albert Collins.
the guitar over the right shoulder, the snap,
Gunslinger. Yeah, gunslinger. Yeah.
and he had
So
big hands, man.
I think that because of his style only and his accuracy, his I mean Albert was accurate when he was on, and one no doubt he can play two notes and that's Albert Collins right off the bat. So I think because of that, he have to get his props, man.
Yeah. And he
Yeah.
also, he had such a good sense of humor in his writing. I mean, I ain't drunk, I'm just drinking.
And socially, he was the most all the way down to the earth guy that I know. Now I could go to the club. I went walking. Me and Albert Collins went walking uh in Berlin, Germany. We went on the Gary Moore tour together. That was my first big tour. I left the bars and went straight to the big stage to open for Gary Moore. Well, that year he did the record "Still Got the Blues," which had Albert Collins and Albert King as walk-on guests, and I got to be that. Oh man, that was an experience I'll never forget. But anyway, one night after we finished the Gary show, Hubert Sumlin was playing blocks away in Berlin at this place. I think it was called Quasimodo's or something like that. So I would say, "Hey, come on, walk me around here." He say, "Hubert playing right around the corner up here and out there, so and so and so." So I mean, when we won the Gary Moore tour, Albert Collins had his own dressing room and stuff. But I had two practice amps in my dressing room. Me and my boys would be in there yucking it up, having so much fun. Every night you hear bam, bam, bam. Man, y'all let me in here, man. Let me in. And he would come in and hang out with us. He enjoyed our company and he just had a lot of fun and he was easy to be around. He didn't come in like, I'm Albert Collins and you young bucks bow down or anything like that. He was just one of the guys and really made us feel at home. Albert loved his Bloody Marys and he tell anybody he kept it, get you some, son. Get you some. That was his thing, you know.
Amazing. And he's such a sweet guy, you know. And I mean, I remember I met him and shook hands, and it felt like his fingers went up to here. I mean, he had these giant hands. You know,
Yeah,
he wasn't really a big guy, you know, but his
no,
hands were just massive. Um, so you've become really kind of a part of the extended Allman Brothers family, especially through your work with Allman Betts Band, Allman Betts Family Revival, and Devon.
right.
You're going to be touring with Devon, I think, this fall, right?
Yeah,
So
part of the Devon Allman Blues Summit.
yeah, so I want to talk about the Blue Summit, but before we even get to that, just back up one step. How did you come to be a part of this? Was this from you? And you are also, as a lot of people watching this will know, but you're the first person who recorded Soulshine before the
Right,
Allman Brothers, before Warren himself recorded it.
right,
Was
right.
it you recording Soulshine that just made you a part of this extended family, or how did that all happen?
Well, I can take it a step further than that. When I was making my second record, Delta Hurricane for Point Blank, um, my manager at that time, Paul Cook or Paul Koch, he was looking for songs for me. You know, I was writing music, but you know, I didn't really have a lot of experience and was didn't have a lot of confidence either. So I needed songs. So I had already been exposed to the music of a writer out of Lincoln, Nebraska, by the name of Dave Steen. And I did I recorded probably about six or seven of Dave Steen's songs. But to get some variety in there and to do something different, I he went and he found out about this guy. He went to the Allman Brothers show, what it was, and he uh, saw Warren Haynes and said, "Hey, boy, you know," he said they got a new rocking. Uh, but this was I don't know how really I don't know how he found out about Warren because I met Warren in the late '80s before he
Yeah,
joined with Greg Allman. But anyway, Paul found him. And so Warren was a Warner Brothers writer. That's what it was.
yeah,
He was a Warner Brothers writer. So they sent us all this Warren Haynes music. I had four cassettes of his music, and one of the songs was Let Your Soul Shine. So after I decided to do some of his songs, they arranged for me to meet Warren in Memphis, Tennessee, and we spent a week together, you know, rehearsing the songs and all this stuff before I recorded this song. And so he gave me total permission to do that song. And he said, anything else on that you hear, you know, you got permission to do that too. Well, on them tapes that he had was the song that later the Allman Brothers did called Maydale,
yeah,
Who to Believe, okay, Soul Shine was one of those songs. I Take a Bullet for You, She's a Pro. All of these songs, Warren had all these songs years and years ago. So that the Soul Shine just happened to be the one that I picked and I recorded. After I recorded the song, the Allman Brothers were on tour with Albert Collins as an open-up band. When they came to Chicago, he took me out to the World
yeah,
Amphitheater. I went out there. I met Albert there. I already had met Albert, you know, through Point
yeah,
Blank. But, you know, I was afraid to meet Greg Allman there, man. You know, back in what it was, 91,
yeah,
92, uh, for no particular reason, but, you know, things still were a little bit tense sometime, and you know, for they just look like some rough guys, man. And I'm like, I go take my butt down there. I just I don't know, man. I judged wrong because I thought that they were a bunch of roughneck guys, and it'd probably be a bad place for me to be. But when I met them people, they were some of the kindest, nicest people I had ever been around, and it just really made me feel bad, man. That you know, I thought that, and it taught me a very valuable lesson, and that is to never judge nobody according to what they look like or according to what anybody else say. Find out for yourself
yeah,
before you form an opinion. So after I met them, they would come around different places, and me and Warren had such a good time in Memphis. We found out that we were the same age. I'm one day older. I say, hey man, when you born? April. Oh, me too. What year? 1960. Oh, me too. What day?
right.
April 6th. I said, oh wow, I'm born the 5th. And that's, you know, how that come about. So I text him every year for our birthdays. And I've known Warren now. It's been 30 some years since I met the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So I'm lucky that I was old enough to know the fathers of the Almonds. I got a chance to do two support tours with Greg, one with Dickie. I'm young enough to where that I know the kids, so I'm right in between two generations.
right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like I remember back when I was younger, I would say, "Oh man, I can't believe I missed Dwayne Allman and Jimi Hendrix and what." But I didn't appreciate what we're talking about now. But yeah, I was walking the earth with B.B. King and Albert King and John Lee Hooker and Albert Collins, and I got to see them all and um,
Heavyweights, man.
meet a lot of them. But be in the audience for all of them. So what a privilege. So tell me a little bit about the Blues Summit. So you're on the record and you're also doing the tour, right?
Right. Well, I don't know. I'm on the record and I'm doing the tour. The thing that I don't know is who all else is on the record. I heard that Kingfish and Robert Randolph, and I don't know who all else. But beside Kingfish and Robert Randolph, you have myself, Jimmy Hall, Sierra Green, and Devon. So that's who's going to be on tour is Sierra Green, Devon Allman, Jimmy Hall, and Larry McCray, us four artists. And I don't know if them other guys are going to
Right.
join, on a certain leg, or I don't know
So,
much else about it than that.
so you've been doing the Allman Betts Family Revival for a few years now. How do you find that experience and the audience and the way they respond to you?
Well, it's kind of crazy, man, because it just it shows me how powerful that the music of the Allman Brothers was. And the reason I say that is because when the kids replicate the music, is I seen the reaction to what their dads and stuff got when that was live and happening. It's almost the same thing for the kids. I mean, the people, it's I would have to say that they started a style of music or something, man. I mean, everything on that side of the track, meaning ethnically different from black people. When you talk to white people and you talk about the blues, that's one of the white Mount Rushmores of the blues right there.
Yeah,
The Allman Brothers, and especially if you go to the South. If you go to the South and you say the blues, the first thing you're gonna hear is some Allman Brothers.
right.
So I mean, the uncanny thing about it is how much that Dwayne is reminiscent of his father and how much he looks like his father. But when you catch Devin sideways and his profile and his hair and his movement and everything, he looks a lot like his dad also. So I see a lot of resemblance in their look, and the people really still love that music, man, and they do a good job of replicating it.
And I think on those tours you become friends with my good friend Lamar Williams Jr., right?
I met Junior for the first time, man. I've known his Uncle James
Yeah,
ever since I was 18 years old. And James lived in Lansing, Michigan. He always used to tell me about his brother Lamar, and being in the Allman Brothers and stuff like that. And I hate so bad that I didn't get a chance to meet Lamar Williams.
right.
But then he told me about Junior and what he was doing. And he said, man, you don't never run into my nephew Lamar out there. And he works with this and that and blah, blah, blah. And about 3 or 4 years ago in Chicago, when the Almond Bets came in, I was there. That was the first time that I did it about 4 years ago. And Lamar was part of it. And I met him and I was so happy. It's such a nice young man, such a intelligent, nice young man and dedicated to his music. I'm just so happy that I got a chance to meet Lamar and know him. And I really look forward to my days when I get a chance to hang out with him.
Yeah. Well, you and Lamar are two of the nicest guys, two of my favorite people that I've met in this world. So, uh,
Oh man, thank you, bro. Thank
so
you.
Lamar, you mentioned he is a great singer, and we talked about BB singing and Albert, but you also are a great singer. So, the simple question is this: how much do you work on singing? Have you put in time on it the way you have on your guitar playing? I mean,
You know what, man? I started singing when I was about 8 or 9 years old. And you know, like I said, in the 60s, we were didn't have much, but we worked together as a family. I come up in the field, I had a hoe in my hand. Um, in the evening time, if you weren't playing some kind of sports, the only other thing that people was doing is clapping their hands and singing and making up music and stuff like that. So I come up around a lot of that kind of stuff, and so I heard them sing, and I started singing too. And I guess the old people thought I could sing pretty good. So when people would come to the house, they would have me come out and sing for the people that came to the house. And I was a little baby boy. I had my finger in my mouth. I had my head down or something. They, come on, baby, come on, sing something, sing something. And I'd be real shy, and finally, I raise up and I start singing. And so I've been singing damn near since I can remember. So it's nothing that I don't work at it. The thing that I work at is trying to catch clever passages, something that I think is clever or something that sounds really good. If I hear something like that, I'll flex my voice a little bit and try to mimic something that caught my ear. But other than that, singing is just something from within, I think.
Do you think about notes when you're singing? Are you aware like that you're going to hit a high A note, for instance, in a song, or are you just singing and your ears actually taking you to that high A note?
I'm singing and I'm listening all at the same time. And I'm very conscious of my range in terms of what my height is and my lowest thing. So when I can't go as high as I want to, I try to find a very creative way of saying it in the low register.
Yeah,
If that makes any kind of sense to you. A lot of things what I can't reach high, I know that if I do it a different way in the lower register, will have the same effect.
right.
And that's how I try to gauge myself. I wish I could sing like my kid,
Yeah.
or some other different singers, that I have heard, they have amazing ranges and stuff. But I'm a kind of limited singer, but yet and still, if I can find my right key, I like to flex both ends of my range, my low range and my high range. It's just hard to find the right key.
I don't think most people who listen to you think of you as a limited singer, but I know what you mean. Because you know where your sweet spot is, and you're good at being there, putting yourself in position to succeed. And it sounds
Right. And I think the first thing is to find your proper key, your comfortable
yeah.
key that will allow you to express from both ends.
Right. And like Soul Shine's a good instance. I mean, anybody who hears your version of Soul Shine right away feels taken to church. I mean, you turned it really into a gospel song, uh, which is part, it's a message that works in that context very, very well. And it's kind of a implicit part of the song anyhow, but you make it explicit, I think.
You know what? That was just my take on the song because of the words. The
Yeah.
words in the song, his message is what made me feel that way about the song. When you can't find the light, and see, when you can't find the light.
Uh,
I don't forgot the words to
to guide you through a cloudy day,
what, baby?
you know?
That's right. When you can't find the light to guide you through a cloudy day, when stars just won't shine bright and it feels like you lost your way. Well, when I heard that, man, that made me think, and it was really a little deeper than just
Yeah.
let the soul shine. You know what I'm saying? To me, it took me to a different place, and that's just what those words meant to me. I thought those words were very deep, and with that interpretation. The only downside that I can say about it is that a lot of my friends and people that I know, when they have people in passing, when someone passes, that's the song that they want to be memorialized with. Let your soul shine. It's like a liberating and release. Releasing of the soul. To let that soul journey to wherever that is supposed to be, to a good place.
Yeah. I,
So
I
I've had to sing that at a lot of funerals.
yeah, I have too. Not a lot of funerals, but a couple. And it's
The
it,
same song, that
yeah,
song.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
difficult. And I sang it at well, a friend of mine's wife passed, and she was the mother of my son's really best friends at the time, and they were all quite young. So it was really a traumatic, sudden
yeah.
thing, and that was the hardest and probably the best thing I've ever done musically was to get up and
Right.
sing it because he asked me to. I didn't want to do it, but
Of course not.
wasn't obviously I wasn't going to say no. And
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
that's and I told Warren about it right away, and of course he's had to do that too. But here's the beautiful thing: it could also work at a wedding or or a birthday party or bar mitzvah or what or a happy occasion as well. So
Right, right, right. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It's not restricted to mean anything. It means what it means to you. And
yeah,
that's the good thing about to me about blues music. You can hear some words and be going through something in your life and it be just par for course for what you got going. Well, I could have something totally different going, but them words could do the same thing for me and liberate me the same way that they did for you. It's the music is all about what it means to you as an individual.
Um, so what has your relationship in the studio and in everything else been like with Josh and Joe? Um, how much of a collaboration is it? How much do you do your thing and they capture it? Are they bringing you song ideas? I think they're putting the bands together, right?
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, the thing of it is that I totally trust them guys when they behind the board and when they listening to me sing and play. And so when you have a trust like that in your producer, it's fun to work. It's easy to work, when you don't have to worry about somebody not knowing what your best effort is, or not knowing what your style is, not know what you're going for, or not knowing you as an individual and know what that you possess. And
Right.
because I've known them and they've known me for so long and know me and my music, they know what's good for Larry McCray. They know where I'm trying to go, and they can kind of almost see the same thing I'm looking for. And it really makes it easy to work with them. And by the same token, I don't have to tenderfoot around with them. I can tell them what I like and what I don't like and what I think is good and what should or should not be changed. And so it's a real good thing and it's easy now. Although the first time it was kind of intimidating because I'd never worked with them in that capacity. And because of my long hiatus and because of, having so many down days in my musical career. I didn't exactly. I lost a lot of confidence and a lot of they kind of propped me back up again. I had kind of lost my mojo for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so the first time when I went in with them, I didn't really have a lot of confidence and did was kind of intimidated and didn't really feel like that I belonged there. And this
Wow.
time, it was much more comfortable for me. And it was like, hey, how y'all been? Instead of like it was much different the
Yeah.
second time than it was the first time. And I had a lot more fun the second time.
Oh, good. Do you feel like
Yeah.
the record reflects that?
I think so. I think so. I mean, and I like the first effort, what we did. And I don't think they did anything different this time than we did the first time. But I just think me personally, it was a personal uh rejuvenation or a personal thing with me that I just felt better about myself. And I had been playing, I've been touring again for the last year or so, so I was playing regularly. When you sit around for a year or two and don't do it, you doubt everything because when you're not doing it every day, you kind of second guess. But when you playing every day and on your stuff, you're like, okay, show it to me, I'm ready.
Yeah, and plus you produced a good record with them, got good response. Great. You play the shows. You went out and did a bunch of his tour cruises, right?
Right, right, right,
And
right.
did all the Allman Betts family revival stuff. I mean, you've been out in front of a lot of people, including new people who weren't necessarily Larry McCray fans. So that's the beauty of doing one of those kind of reviews, right? Where maybe next time you play in that city, somebody's going to be like, "Oh man, that's the guy that knocked me out with Soulshine at that
It's
show."
been nothing but good for me to work with Devon Allman and to be exposed to the whole thing, what the family revival provides, because it's totally new audiences, it's all people that probably never would have got a chance to. But although there are a lot of people there that do know who I am, because it's a lot of blues fans that support the Allman Brothers also. But it's probably a bigger percentage. I say it's probably 70-30.
Yeah.
70% of people who don't know me, and
It,
maybe 30 to 25, some of the people know, but not
the
a
thing
big
is, too,
percentage.
Larry, you maybe don't appreciate, and that's why going out and doing these things can be so rewarding. There's probably a lot of people out there over the years who have had great experiences at your shows. I mean, meaningful nights of music. Maybe they even proposed that night or they fell in love with someone or whatever, that they have memorable experiences.
And I
Um,
get that. I get that sometimes.
yeah. I mean,
Yep.
for me, when One Way Out, my first book about the Allman Brothers came out, and I went
Uh-huh.
and did things with the, book events, and I went to the One E Fest and Peach Fest and met all these Allman Brothers fans. One of
Right.
the things that was amazing to me is that people would pop up, uh, in the 90s and early 2000s. I was writing all these articles for Guitar World. Well, that's like we were talking about. You get used to, oh, I'm going to go see BB King again. Well, I was sort of like that. Oh, I'm going to interview Warren Haynes again. I've interviewed Warren Haynes 35 times, 50 times, whatever.
Right.
So I'm like, I can't believe I'm interviewing Warren again. Does anyone even care anymore? But there wasn't social media. There was no feedback. And of course, I love Warren. I love all this stuff, and I treated everything as took it all seriously and with respect. But when that book came out, and I would go out and meet people, and they say, "Man, in the late '90s, there was nothing out there, and that I cared about. I would just wait for Guitar World magazine and hope you had another interview with Warren in there." And I met a lot of people like that, and I was like, "Wow, all that
Made you
time."
look at yourself different, didn't it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought I was just throwing like bottle, like a message in a bottle out in the ocean, and then you find out actually there's people out there picking up the bottle and reading your message. I
Oh
didn't,
man,
and
I'm one of them. I know several people in my area, that live for those. I got so many.
well, but
Yeah.
I'm not talking about myself really. I was just trying to use it as a way to say I know people you have the same thing. Where these
Mhm.
shows where you're grinding out there and another one nighter in Nebraska or
And
uh,
you don't think nobody's
Champaign,
paying attention.
Illinois, whatever. It's just
Yeah.
another gig. But there's somebody there who had a meaningful, really meaningful experience, and you changed their lives, and it's a good thing. I know it grinds us down sometimes, but you've been out there, spreading joy and love for a long time. It's not nothing, man. It's a positive.
You know what? It have given me a whole different way of looking at it. When you young in your career, starting out looking up at everything, you have a lot of aspirations, and the only thing that is important is to be the biggest, best, and you want to be the brightest star ever. But after you get out there and get your feet wet and know that that there's other capacities and success that don't always mean that you the biggest fish in the pond, but it's other important work in between from the ground to that level. And when you find yourself in these different positions and stuff like that, you have to learn how to appreciate what you do have and to appreciate the small victories that you do accomplish and the milestones that we do make to know that this is all part of a journey and it's not it don't happen the rocket ship don't happen for everybody, but it don't lessen the importance of your contribution.
Right. Well said. Very well said. Um, well, Larry, it's always a pleasure to see you. Congratulations on the new record. I think it's really good. I'm excited for it to get out. I'm excited for people to hear uh, the Devon project and to see you on the road for that. And I look forward to seeing you for both your own show and one of the Devon shows soon.
I hope so, man. And I just want to thank you and all the listening people and the people who are tuning into this Zoom meeting and let them know that Larry McCray is out here live and well. And I hope I get a chance to share some music and some good times with you at some point soon.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, brother.